Welcome back. And now we take a look at Africa. South Africa's former Finance and Labour Minister and first black central bank governor Tito Mboweni has died aged 65 following a brief illness, the presidency said late on Saturday. Mboweni was an anti-apartheid activist as a student who later became Democratic South Africa's first Labour minister from 1994 to 1999 under former President Nelson Mandela. He then served as governor of the South African Reserve Bank for a decade from 1999 and later as finance minister from 2018 to 2021 under President Cyril Ramaphosa. Local media reported that the 65-year-old died in a hospital in Johannesburg surrounded by his loved ones. Citing a statement by the family of the deceased, report says Mboweni passed after a short illness. The anti-apartheid activist was the Democratic South Africa's first Minister of Labour from 1994 to 1999 in the cabinet of founding President Nelson Mandela. He served as governor of the South African Reserve Bank from 1999 during 10 years. He also served as Minister of Finance during the first mandate of current President Ramaphosa. The presidency unveiled a statement on Saturday, October 11, in which Ramaphosa praises a leader and a compatriot who has served the nation as an activist, economic policy innovator, and champion of labor rights. Given his sense of vitality and energetic and affable engagement with fellow South Africans. Dr. Mboweni's passing at 65 comes as a shock, it added. Zimbabwe has confirmed its first 2 cases of Mpox, the health ministry said on Sunday, without specifying which variant had been recorded. The first case was detected in an 11-year-old boy who developed symptoms last month after traveling to South Africa, the statement said. The second case was in a 24-year-old man who fell ill after traveling to Tanzania, it said. Both patients are recovering and contact tracing is underway, the statement added. The cases were in capital Harare and the southern town of Mberengwa. The World Health Organization in August declared Mpox a global public health emergency for the second time in 2 years, as a new variant of the viral infection spread from Democratic Republic of Congo to neighboring African countries. The new Clade 1b variant has caused global concern as it seems to spread more easily through routine close contact. The Ministry of Health and Child Care wishes to reassure the public that the situation is under control and urges the Zimbabwean public not to panic, said the statement signed by Health Minister Douglas Mombeshora. Neighboring Zambia also reported its first case last week without disclosing the strain. Mpox typically causes flu-like symptoms and pulse-filled lesions. It is usually mild but can kill. During a press conference in Milan on Sunday, Adolfo Uso, Minister of Enterprise and Made in Italy, said that Italy would be partnering with Kenya on a space project. He made the revelation on the eve of the 75th International Astronautical Congress. This project had been tabled earlier this month when the minister visited Kenya. The minister revealed that Italy is looking to utilize one of its space centers in Kenya, which is managed by Italian space agency ASI, to launch Earth observation satellites in a few years from now. The minister, according to newsmen, revealed that the space center would also be used for the training of Kenyan students, industry experts, and scientists. The Italian minister noted that the relaunch of the space center, scheduled in a few years, was a goal for both the Italian and Kenyan, which would be under Rome's Mighty Plan, an Italian development program for African countries. The 75th International Astronautical Congress, which will take place in Milan from October 14th to 18th, 2024, will include over 8,000 specialists from business, research, and institutions. Earlier in the month, at the Luigi Brogligo Malandi Space Center in Malindi, Kenya, Soipa Tuya, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense for Kenya, and Adolfo Uso co-chaired the Second Council of Ministers meeting. The Ligui-Broglio space facility is located 30 kilometers north of Malindi and began operations in the 1960s. Its latest launch was in 1988, following the first Italian satellite launch from Wallops Island in 1964. The second Italian satellite, the San Marco 2, was launched from the S. Marco platform in Malindi, Kenya in 1967. 17 launches total up to 1988 rather. The center is divided into two sections: the ground segment, which provides the scientific and technical services, antennas for in-orbit control, satellites, launchers, and scientific data collecting, and the sea portion, platforms, which employs 200 locals, according to the Kenyan Space Agency. The Ligui-Broglio Space Center Malindi Center primarily houses ground stations, equipment, and that transmits and receives signals from various space systems utilized in specialized missions. Comoros will hold elections to its 33-seat parliament on January 12, according to a decree published on Saturday, although opposition parties have said they will boycott the poll. The Indian Ocean archipelago, with a population of about 800,000, last had parliamentary polls in January 2020. In January, incumbent President Azali Assoumani was re-elected for another 5-year term, but the opposition rejected the results, alleging instances of ballot stuffing and of voting being ended before the official closing time. The government denied the claims. They say they do not trust Azali Assoumani because no matter what commitments they make, they will not respect them. Orange, another opposition party, has also said it will not participate in the poll because the president had reappointed the current head of the electoral body, Idrissa Said, whom they accused of favoring the ruling convention for the renewal of the Comoros CRC party. Said denies the allegations. Assoumani's opponents accuse him of authoritarian excesses and suspect him of wanting to prepare his eldest son, Noor El Fath, to replace him in 2029 when his current term ends. Assoumani has been ruling Comoros since 1999 when he came to power through a coup. He has since won 3 elections. Man arrested at a security checkpoint near Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's California rally on Saturday faces gun charges after he was found in possession of 2 guns and a high-capacity magazine, authorities said on Sunday. The 49-year-old man, a resident of Las Vegas, was stopped in a black SUV by deputies from the Riverside County Sheriff's Office on Saturday and taken into custody without incident, according to the office. Trump narrowly survived an assassination attempt in July when a gunman's bullet grazed his ear during a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. In September, another man was charged with trying to assassinate Trump after Secret Service agents discovered him hiding with a rifle near Trump's Palm Beach golf course. He pleaded not guilty. Trump's rally on Saturday took place in the Coachella Valley, an area known for its annual music and arts festival. The sheriff's office said the man arrested, identified as Vem Miller, was charged with possessions of a loaded firearm and possession of a high-capacity magazine. More details about the charges were not available. Jail records show Miller was released on $5,000 bail on Saturday. He could not immediately be reached for comment on Sunday. United States said on Sunday that it will send U.S. troops to Israel along with an advanced U.S. anti-missile system in a highly unusual deployment meant to bolster the country's air defenses following missiles attacks by Iran. U.S. President Joe Biden said the move was meant to defend Israel, which is weighing an expected retaliation against Iran after Tehran fired more than 180 missiles at Israel on October 1st. The United States has been privately urging Israel to calibrate its response to avoid triggering a broader war in the Middle East. Officials say with Biden publicly voicing his opposition to an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear sites and his concerns about a strike on Iran's energy infrastructure. Pentagon spokesperson Major General Patrick Ryder described the deployment as a part of the broader adjustments the U.S. military has made in recent months to support Israel and defend U.S. personnel from attacks by Iran and Iranian-backed groups. But a U.S. military deployment to Israel is rare outside of drills, given Israel's own military capabilities. U.S. troops in recent months have raided Israel's defense from warships and fighter jets in the Middle East when it came under Iranian attack. U.S. President Joe Biden said the move was meant to defend Israel, which is weighing an expected retaliation against Iran after Tehran fired more than 180 missiles at Israel on October 1st. The United States has been privately urging Israel to calibrate its response to avoid triggering a broader war in the Middle East, officials say. The Biden publicly voicing his opposition to an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear sites and its concerns about a strike on Iran's energy infrastructure. U.S. President Joe Biden is due to visit Germany on Friday, having cancelled a visit last week because of Hurricane Milton striking the U.S., German government sources told newsmen on Sunday. Spiegel magazine had earlier reported the new date, saying plans for meetings were already well advanced. The sources said Biden's visit would not have the character of a formal state visit but would be slimmed down to attend to joint work in progress. Spiegel magazine said official meetings with Chancellor Olaf Scholz and President Frank-Walter Steinmeier were on the agenda for next Friday. Talks would address the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East, it said. Biden's cancellation of the originally planned trip overturned plans for a wider meeting of the so-called Ramstein Group of Ukraine arms donors to be part of his stay in Germany, which would have discussed possible new aid commitments to Ukraine. Former U.S. President Donald Trump, who is the Republican presidential candidate, said he spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu like 2 days ago. Trump was asked when last he spoke to the Israeli leader during a news interview that aired on Sunday. Like 2 days ago, and he came to my house in Florida, Mar-a-Lago, with his wife, who was lovely, he responded. Trump met with Netanyahu at his resort in Palm Beach, Florida, in July. It was their first meeting since the end of Trump's presidency. U.S. President Joe Biden also spoke with Netanyahu last week amid tensions with Iran. The Wednesday call was the first known conversation between the two leaders since August. It coincided with a sharp escalation of Israel's conflict with Iran and the Iran-backed Lebanese Hezbollah. Trump called the lack of conversation between Biden and Netanyahu in nearly 2 months pathetic. Relations between Biden and Netanyahu have been tensed, strained over the Israeli leaders' handling of the war in Gaza and the conflicts with Hezbollah. Israel has said it will pursue its military operations until Israelis are safe. U.S. President Joe Biden on Sunday, October 13, surveyed the damage from Florida's Hurricane Milton, the second storm to batter the low-lying state in recent weeks, as rising floodwaters, fuel shortages, and power outages further impacted cleanup efforts. Milton, which led to at least 17 reported deaths, has added to piles of debris following Hurricane Helene, with electricity and fuel still unavailable in many areas. On the ground, Biden passed entire neighborhoods in St. Peter Beach with debris piled in street corners next to felled palm trees and homes, with the pastel-painted garage doors busted as the smell of moldy building materials filled the air. ATN gathered that relief efforts have been hampered by a trail of misinformation, including conspiracy theories about officials controlling the weather. Politics has also infiltrated recovery with just 3 weeks to go until the presidential election. Heaps of mattresses, siding couches, microwave ovens, pillows, and busted-up kitchen cabinets all lined the island's roads, some still covered in large patches of sand as Biden walked through the emergency responders. Biden, touring the area along with U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, will also meet with residents before making public remarks. Flooding is expected to continue around the Tampa Bay and the Sanford area northwest of Orlando as river waters continue to rise, according to the National Weather Service's website. More fuel distribution sites are scheduled to open on Sunday, according to the state's Emergency Operations Center. Biden's administration has approved federal aid to help residents and local governments over expenses, but have said the Federal Emergency Management Agency would need additional funding from the U.S. Congress, even though it has not enough now to meet immediate storm needs. Biden, the Democrats, last week called on lawmakers who are on recess until after the November 5th election to return to Washington to approve more FEMA money. Venezuela has cancelled the passports of dozens of journalists and activists since President Nicolas Maduro claimed a re-election victory, part of what rights groups say is an intensifying campaign of repression against the authoritarian president's opponents. The Financial Times reported on Saturday at least 40 people, mostly journalists and human rights activists, have had their passports annulled without explanation, the newspaper reported, citing Caracas-based rights group Laboratoria de Paz. The group warned that the number of people who have had their passports cancelled is likely to be much higher due to Venezuelans' fear of reporting cases, the FT said. Laboratoria de Paz could not be immediately reached for the report. People have had their passports confiscated by authorities while attempting to board flights from the country's main airports. The newspaper reported, citing the rights group, unlike murder or tortures, which have a higher political cost. The government has found that passports cancellation is an effective way of neutralizing and muffling critical voices with minimal effort. The newspaper reported, citing Rafael Uzcategui, co-director of the rights group, be directly related to 10 state university events that had included a parade and other festivities earlier in the day.